Episode 299 of the Calcio guys, and one of the biggest, it's happening again, guys. Let's put it this way. It's deja vu in the Calcio guys. Adriano, Gianni, I'm Nicholas. Deja vu pretty much for the 299th time in terms of the Calcio guys, and for Italy, it's second time in our history doing this, third time in the past, let's say 12 years, less than 10 years now. For you could follow us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You know it, guys, with Adriano and Gianni. I'm Nicholas. How you feeling, guys?
I'll let Johnny go for it.
Well, it's Groundhog Day again.
That's one positive.
Yeah. No, I'm good. Fighting off a stomach bug, but it's out of my system today. I just don't have much of an appetite, but I'm healing. We're there. Reached the end of it. Wait, why is my camera not working? Hello? Okay, we're good. Right at the end of it. So we're good about that. I'm really excited. You guys, how are things, Adri?
Yeah, well, besides my dog barking like a maniac upstairs, doing good. Got getting in the mood, guys. Getting in the mood. Tonight's the night before the big game tomorrow, obviously for Italy, and had some pasta carbonara, made some pizza tonight. It was a good day trying to get in the mood. So happy to be back like always. It's episode 299, guys. I can't believe it. Next week, hopefully we're in good spirits for episode 300. And yeah, guys, just like we said last week, anxious, excited, nervous, the whole nine.
Yeah, that's a carb heavy dinner, Adri. Let's hope that the Azzurri ate a bit better.
Let's hope
tonight in preparation for tomorrow's big game. It feels like forever. We've been waiting for this game since November, pretty much, when we knew that Italy was going to be playing in the playoffs. And it's like Johnny said, it's Groundhog Day. You look back. What was it, November 2017? I think November 13th, 2017. Exactly. November 13th, 2017, they lost to Sweden. I forget the date in 2022 when they lost to North Macedonia.
It's around this time, I think. No?
I remember it was in March. March 24th, they lost to North Macedonia. And tomorrow, March 26th, 2026. Hopefully a day that will be positive. It's a swing of emotion because if they win, it's like, okay, there's still another game. But if they lose, we know it's over. The dream of qualifying for the World Cup, requalifying again after 12 years will be over. So it's a lot to lose tomorrow and a bit less to gain, but one step closer to World Cup qualification. Guys, so we know the team that was announced last week. We know that now. A lot of injuries so far. I know there was Chiesa.
Yeah.
I don't know if Bastoni is still part of the squad, right?
Yeah, I think everybody besides Chiesa's the only one who decided to go home and who went home. I think he got replaced by Cambiaghi. Our posts on social media kind of been doing the numbers there, and I think that's the only switch there. Cambiaghi coming in for Chiesa. I know Bastoni, Tonali, Calafiori, Scamacca is another big one who they stuck around in the camp, and they've been trying to get into somewhat of game shape for tomorrow, if not potentially next Tuesday. So yeah, besides that, Chiesa is the only one who unfortunately went home.
So the players that it felt like there were so many posts initially of players that are injured, like you said, like Bastoni, Calafiori, Scamacca.
Yeah.
But at least they're staying in the camp. Chiesa, there was a lot of hype of him getting called up to the team. Look, I don't know how serious his injury is, but I told you guys on Instagram, you got to have no legs if you're going to miss this World Cup qualification. This is your opportunity as a player to bring your team back to the World Cup after 12 years. Look, Chiesa's, I think he's 27, 28, I forget.
Something like that, yeah.
And the last time Italy was in it, he was still a teenager. And let's be real, this might be his only shot to make a World Cup. So do we really want a guy who's leaving the team at the World Cup qualification? Look, I don't want to be too harsh because we don't know the injury. But for a guy like I said, you really got to have a serious injury that's putting you out of league play as well with Liverpool if you're not going to go out and represent your country. I'm not going to go as far to say like if you're not part of the squad now and they qualify, you can't be part of the squad in June, because obviously that's not how it works. But for sure, I do think Gattuso takes that into consideration, especially for a guy like Chiesa. And even me, as a someone who loved Chiesa like 5 years ago, and we know that his injury with the ACL back in 2022 that completely destroyed his, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see the downfall because he was one of the best young Italian players. And look, Jenny, you talked about him back in 2018, that he's the next best Italian player, and you made that prediction correct. And he carried that team, not carried that team, but he was instrumental in 2021 with the Euros. And then the fall off was so hard, and it sucks to see that. We've got to the point. He gets called up. We're happy. It's like, okay, time for a restart, and then he's out of the squad for one of the biggest games. But let's be real, him being out of the squad, like I don't think he would have even been in the starting lineup.
So I think that is a very fair assessment to make, not because of talent or whatever. It's because the guy hasn't been playing in England ever since he left Juventus. And I thought Juventus was already a bad mistake for him to go. Yeah. But now he's left the Juve to go to Liverpool, and Liverpool is getting almost no playing time. I wouldn't have been comfortable with him playing. Like I would have been crossing my fingers, hoping that he still, like, he had some magic in him and stuff. But this feels like shades of Cassano in 2008. Where Cassano was brought up to the Euro roster in 2008, and the guy looked extremely awkward out there. And at the time, Cassano was one of the most talented young players of the Italian national team. Right, he had a lot of magic in those early 2000s, and then come that time, he just felt so off. Like it didn't look right, and it was unfortunate to see. So, what I'm hoping for is that Chiesa takes this as a bit of a like props to him for like saying like, I'm not comfortable enough to play for the roster, and Gattuso respecting that, and not forcing him to fit into the roster or fit into it. But I hope he takes this as a wake up call in the sense of, let me switch teams now. Like I need to either go back to Italy or go to a team where I'm going to get regular playing time, because I don't blame him for collecting his paycheck in Liverpool and, just riding the bench to collect money. But career-wise, it's killing his career in the long run because he's not getting anything. And I think if you're Italian, like I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but I think wearing La Maglia Azzurra makes up way more than whatever money you can make in your league soccer and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
As much as we like to discuss it, I'm pretty sure Maldini, despite having a legendary 5 Champions League titles, he has 5 of them.
Yeah,
5 Champions League titles. I'm pretty sure he'd be willing to trade that all in, or maybe even a handful in, just for a Euro or a World Cup for Italy. Especially for how close he came a few times. So, like I feel like if you're an Italian player, the Euro World Cup is worth way more to you than league titles for other clubs. Who cares? You want to win. You obviously want to win everything you play in, but you want to win that World Cup or be pivotal to the team winning the World Cup. So hopefully this is a wake-up call for him, and then he probably shakes things up this summer, which would be too late because that's when the World Cup's going to be going on, but maybe signs for times to come.
Yeah, and listen, it's unfortunate. I think, for Chiesa, and again, to Nick's point earlier of what he kind of responded to us in our chat there, I responded back, and I hate to say it, but he's kind of become a little bit soft, and I really hate to use that word, and I know that's a word that goes around a lot in this generation of life, of sport, of whatever, but he's just not the same between the ears, it seems like, and that's what's even more unfortunate for me. Is he a quality player? Yes. Is he there physically up to tip top shape? No. Is he mentally stable and strong? It seems like that's kind of dwindled out a bit too. So listen, the other guys stuck around, and I listened to Gattuso's press conference, and you knew those questions were going to be asked about Chiesa, because he was the only one, like you said, Nick, that did go home and got replaced by Cambiaghi. But Gattuso said it pretty much what you said, Nick. Every player is different. Every player, you can't force things on certain players, and despite what the injury is or what it might be, or he's just maybe not there physically or fit, it became one of these things where it didn't make sense to keep him around. He used, I think, the word, not useful or something along those lines. So which again, that's that's the cold hard facts. That's what it would be. So if you're not productive, or you're not going to be productive, and you're not going to be there, and bringing any sort of value, I guess you can say, in quotations, there's no purpose for you to be there. But which is also unfortunate, because I think Gattuso, and I don't think I'm going to say I think, because I don't know 100%, but Gattuso is really trying to create this group, right? We spoke about the group back. Nick, you said Euro 2021. It was the group. It wasn't the individual. I know Chiesa had a big part of it, but and Donnarumma and other players, but it was the group that pushed us over the line. And I think Gattuso is trying to recreate that in his way. And Chiesa seems to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Is he ready? Is he not ready? Is he refusing call ups? Is he not refusing call ups? So listen, I think if he's ready, he can have that chance to come back. But again, for me, you have to earn it. You have to earn the right to wear the Azzurri blue. It doesn't just get handed to you just because your name is, in this case, Chiesa. So again, it's unfortunate. I think besides that, maybe we'll get into the call ups, one by one here. But I still think with the players at disposal, despite some of the omissions that a lot of people online were kind of saying, the Zaniolos, I even was seeing Bernadeschi, players of that nature, Orsolini, right? It's fair, we can have that debate, but Chiesa got that, and I was shocked. I don't know about you guys. I was shocked to see Chiesa's name. To be fair, like I didn't think it was going to come now. We said it, I think, way back when, October or November, whatever it was. Maybe Chiesa gets a shot back before the World Cup, and I personally was shocked to see his name. It was there, and then fast forward a couple of days, not even a couple. What was it? A day later, 2 days later, and he's going home. So it's again, I don't think this national team depends on a guy like Chiesa. He's been so out of the mix that I think we've moved past that point. Maybe if we would have spoken like a handful of years ago, maybe we would say, yeah, maybe we're a bit dependent on what he can do. I think we're past that, and listen, we have to put our faith in the guys that are there, that are gonna be there, that are gonna play, that are not gonna come off the bench, that are hopefully gonna bring us, to the promised land. So those are the players that we have to put our faith in, rather than the players that are unfortunately not here.
Yeah, let's look at the roster. Let's look at the call-ups quickly. One last thing about Chiesa, he hasn't played for Italy since Euro 2024, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, it'll be what, 2 years?
2 years, yeah. So 4 goalkeepers. I think I counted 11 defenders, 6 mids, and 7 forwards.
It was 28. There was 28 guys, yeah.
Yeah. So with this big of a roster, it's hard to say like, oh, this player should have been in it. Like it feels like they called up everyone. It's such a big roster. For me, I think the only name that maybe I would have liked to see, Orsolini, and this is a guy who's, let's be real, he's been shafted by the Italian national team the past few years. I know he's not having the best season. This is not Orsolini of last year, but look, his teammate Cambiaghi got called up, who has less goals and assists than him, playing for the same team. So what does Cambiaghi bring that Orsolini doesn't? A couple of names in forward that I'm excited to see. I think Pio Esposito, he's hot at the right time. And look, with the striker, we've talked about it so much. You just got to bring the hot guy. I'm not talking about looks here, but I'm talking about informed players, right? So Pio Esposito is the guy who's been playing so well for Inter. But besides that, like I'm look, Retegui, we don't know anything how he's doing in Saudi Arabia now. So I don't know. I actually don't know if he's playing well or not.
I heard it's 18 goals in
18.
all
there you go.
in all comms. That's what I had heard.
Yeah, but
somebody can fact check me that. Yeah, exactly. No, and I get it. But he said how many goals, and I had heard 18. So that's what it is. No matter if it's Total Campo or if it's Serie A, right? That's where he plays. That's where he's getting his goals, and that's what we're gonna have to go off of.
18 total goals as of March 13th. So it could be that the stats aren't up to date. I'm looking at Wikipedia.
I think they had a pause in their season, if I'm
There
not
you go.
mistaken.
Yeah, but besides that, I am a bit surprised. Only 6 mids. I guess it depends. But look, if they're playing a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, that what's being rumored, you kind of need that depth in midfield. So to only rely on 6 mids is kind of surprising. But again, it's like, who else would you call up there? Rovella, maybe.
I think he's injured. No?
He's injured. There
I
you go.
think so.
There's not much depth in that position. Looking at the defenders, I think this is probably the only group that I have real trust in, especially with the interconnection between DeMarco and Bastoni. If Bastoni plays, if he's healthy, obviously DeMarco is one of the best wing backs in football right now. It feels like every week he has multiple assists. So that's the DeMarco we need tomorrow against Northern Ireland. And obviously in goal, it's obviously led by Gigio Donnarumma. No problem. So it's like that meme with the horse starting from the back. It's well drawn, and then as you get forward, it's not so good. I don't know what your guys are thoughts about these stuff.
Well, get this picture off so I can see you guys properly. I can't see you guys. Listen, you know me about the 4 goalkeepers. I don't understand that. Why we need 4 goalkeepers? We need 2 max. And again, it's not just to be funny. For me, I'll never understand that. You want to bring up 3, okay, fine. But 4, like, what do we? I feel like you're just wasting roster spots with that because, especially with our luck of with Italian goalkeepers. We went from the Buffon era right into the Donnarumma era, and hopefully we don't look back for another handful of years right going forward. So it's a shame because there are a lot of good Italian keepers out there. I like that Caprile got a shout, and Carnesecchi. Do we need 4? I know Meret's the other name because Vicario was hurt, but I don't know. I feel like you cut one of those, you add another midfielder to your point, Nick. Maybe a guy like Coyote, I think was a big name that was going around, on social media. Just him getting. I don't want to say snubbed because I don't know if he was really in the plans to begin with, but I think a guy who, if you want to go off of merit, I think deserved the call up. I think he's been doing well in England for such a young player. I know he recently got put into Baldini's U21 team, and who again didn't even call him up first. He had to get it added later. So a bit of a weird one for me with Coyote because again, I think he's a talent that we hopefully nurture and progress in the ranks of the national team. So that's that. But again, for a midfield, maybe I'm a bit biased, but I would have thrown a guy like Adichie in there. I would have liked to see him progress in the national team. It's a shame that he hasn't been getting quality minutes enough to maybe deserve that call up. But if you want to add another midfield, I would have probably added him. The one thing I do like, and again, I was shocked, but at the same time not, is Palestra, right? Mark Jim, as we'll call him in England, right? Mark Jim, Marco Palestra. But I'm happy to see that Gattuso called him up. And if Sky is right, and I know we posted it earlier today, the rumor lineup and whatnot, it looks like he might get a shout on that right wing back position, which for me I love. It's a bit of a weird one because it's a debut, such a young player for such an important match, but I would have, if we were talking about going around and saying, "Oh, what's your starting 11?" I would put him in there with the players that we have at our disposal right now. So I like that for sure. You know, Pizzili is another one that I was a bit maybe a bit surprised, but at the same time he's been quietly a solid player for Roma. I think I like him better than Cristante. And again, no disrespect. I know there's a Cristante lovers out there. For me, he's not da nazionale. That's just my opinion. You can shoot me for it. I don't care. I don't know. For me, I feel like we could do better, but it is what it is. He's there. And in the midfield, is Barella going to step up to the Barella that we need tomorrow and potentially Tuesday? That's, I think, the biggest talking point in the midfield aspect of things. So I think, again, Locatelli, it is what it is. I know he's having a bit of a better season than he has in the past, and he wears the captain's armband for Juve, and he's slowly stepped up. But I think him and Tonali are probably the definite locks with Barella too. But I think the Barella that we need is kind of the one of the past. I know he's gone through so many matches. So again, we don't blame the guy, but we need him at his best tomorrow and potentially further on. So I'm hopeful that he does come up to play tomorrow. You mentioned DiMarco, Nick. There's not much more to say about that, but the forward, it's looking like it's going to be the Keane Retegui partnership again. And for me, I have no problem. I know Pio Esposito, like you said, Nick, is in form, and I like him off the bench. I like him to come off the bench because against this Northern Ireland team, again, we don't know their players like we do the Italian players, that's for sure. But I could just picture this team being very solid defensively, very physical, man back, crowding the midfield, right? Giving us no space, that low block. That's what I can potentially see as a tactic for the on their end. So bringing a guy like Pio Esposito, who is, you know, tall, physical, has that height. You want to cross in the ball. We saw it over the weekend against Fiorentina, right? Not even a minute in, Barella puts in a ball and Pio gets on the end of it. So hopefully those connections with the Inter players, as much as I hate to say it, come to life. But again, so I like him off the bench. So if you start with Retegui and Keane, for me personally, I don't mind that. It's unfortunate that Keane hasn't had the season that he had last year in Serie A. But I feel like when he puts on the Azzurri Blu, he's a bit of a different player, and he brings a bit more. So I hope that is to be true tomorrow as well. And that partnership has kind of worked, right? We've seen it work, him and Retegui. So I'm putting my confidence in them too. So it looks like it's going to be the 3-5-2. From what Sky and other outlets are saying, it's going to be Donnarumma, Nets, Mancini, Bastoni, Calafiori in the defense, and then the five, it goes, there it is, Palestra, Tonali, Locatelli, Barella, and DiMarco with Keane and Retegui up top. So listen, if they're correct, I don't mind the lineup, guys. I don't know about you. I'm not a huge fan of the 3-5-2, but if this is what's going to give us the best chance to win, and I think Gattuso has went with a lot of familiarity with the call-ups, with who he's potentially can start tomorrow, and kind of with the omissions that kind of got left out. You spoke about the Orsolini. A guy like Zaniolo. Again, say what you want about him and his injury, battle and his attitude and whatnot. He's having a pretty decent year at Udinese, right? He's putting up some sort of better numbers than a Jack Raspadori or guys of that nature. So or a Cambiaghi for that matter. So it's a weird one that maybe that guy doesn't get called up too. But I think this mold of players and this quote unquote core has kind of been Gattuso's guys, I guess you can say, and that's kind of, I think he played it safe. He was playing the safe card. Hopefully that doesn't bite us in the ass in terms of what happens tomorrow. But listen, it is what it's going to be. And as we said in many, many episodes, I don't care who it is. I don't care how it happens. It just needs to happen. And that's the mentality going into tomorrow for me, at least. Johnny?
I don't have like much more to add. You guys are quite detailed. Only thing I was really hoping to do a highlight on, which you guys did, was Pio Esposito. The other thing I do want to state is that I feel like the team, like I think as a super sub it's fine, but I feel like he's more starter worthy than others, and like for given how well he's playing, as of late. So
Would you take out? You would take out
no, I would.
Retegui or Keane?
Thing is, I'll probably use Keane as the super sub. I would probably
Okay.
use Keane as the super sub for that instance.
Okay.
I feel like Retegui is obviously our most informed striker. You definitely play him, but Keane, obviously, he's not having the greatest of seasons at Fiorentina. It's not his fault. We know how good he is as a player, but I'd rather see Retegui with Esposito than Keane there, but as a starter. But I'm not. But the thing is, up front is where we have the least amount of complaints. Where we're gonna live and die is through our midfield.
Yeah.
Like the back three, it's gonna like as we saw, it's gonna be a back three in the lineup, which they have to come up big. But thankfully, it's 3 center backs instead of like 2 center backs and a right back in Di Lorenzo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's finally understanding that you can only play 3 men in the back if you're using 3 defensively minded the defenders that are center backs. You know, like not anybody.
I wonder if the injury of Di Lorenzo kind of made him realize that. I you know, because I feel like if he would have been healthy, and again, we don't know. You know, it's we'll never know that. But if he was healthy and he would have got called up, I wonder what would have been.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because. But I don't know, like it doesn't fit Gattuso's formation if he's always going.
Oh, I totally agree with you. But like, I wonder if he would have still been hard-headed.
Unless he wants to put him as a right wing back, which doesn't make sense to me. Like it's way out of position for him to play too. So that's the one thing that really holds back Di Lorenzo is that he doesn't have much diversity to his game. That's probably like the way I could best describe it.
Yeah, he's a right back through and through. That's
yeah.
What it is.
You live and die by him. So. I really hope that, that he continues with this mentality because we need the midfield to make up for that and, be more responsible and really support our forwards. Because like I said, our forwards are probably the most secure position, which is a weird time to say for Italian soccer where it's like, I feel because the thing is, I'm comfortable with Keane. I'm comfortable with Otegui. I'm comfortable with Esposito. You know what I mean? Like, Scamacca is the only one where it's like,
Yeah, I just, sorry, go ahead.
No, and then getting like Politano or if like Raspadori off the bench is fine by me. I think maybe it's my Napoli bias, but for them as substitutes to come on to clean up a game, I'm okay with that. Even though they're better up suited for a 3-man formation up front, I'm okay with that. But all in all, 1 second. Got to answer a message. All in all, trying to do 2 things at once here. All in all, our midfield is going to be the key. I'm really not happy with the fact that if he's going to go with a 3-5-2 formation, that he doesn't bring as much midfielders as he was supposed to. I feel like we're going to have a lot of exhausted bodies come the second game, especially that these are all players that play heavy minutes already for their respective teams. Like Barella, I swear to God, Barella is probably going to look like Quinn Hughes at the end of all this, where it's like it looks like he's dead on the inside.
And
the guy is only 29 years old. He's only 29 and he looks like
that's old. That's old for soccer players.
Yeah. I know. He looks worn out. Like let the poor kid live. I'm calling him a kid. He's 4 years younger than me, but let him live.
But also, we're talking about the starting lineup. Personally, I don't have any problems with it. But what I would like to see is if let's say the game's tied 60th minute, or God forbid we're down at that time. I want to see subs early. I don't want to see. Look, Gattuso has 5 subs to his disposal. I think this has kind of been a problem with Gattuso, even with Spalletti, with Mancini. They kind of took too long to make their subs. I find even with Spalletti that was a problem. This is a do or die game. If he sees something in the game, make that change. And I'm sure. Look, obviously, they're doing a bunch of scouting on Northern Ireland, this and that. But it's possible they come out with a whole new game plan, kind of like what you said, AJ. Come out physical, come out playing defensive. Look, let's be real. That's probably what they're going to do. They're playing away. They're less talented than Italy. Their best bet to win is to park the bus for 90 minutes and to play physical. And I think that's been the issue with Italy for the past few years since winning the Euros. They play these physical teams. You think back to that Switzerland game in the Euros. They struggled. I know Spain's not the most physical.
We were this close, right, to leave, to exit that match, right? And that, you're talking about the Euro match.
The
round of 16 game against Switzerland.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm talking about Austria. Yeah, sorry. That game.
Then even like the Spain game. I know Spain's not physical and like strength, but even like speed wise, they still beat us in that game back in the Euros. So all that to say is, if Northern Ireland wants to win, that's how they're going to play. They're going to use their bodies to their strength. For Italy to win, they need to be smart. And what I also want to see is just take advantage every chance you got, and even score early. Just get that out of the way early, because how many times have we watched Italy games together and we're like this half the time
Yeah.
because they just miss a great opportunity to put it away. Think back to some of the group games in the qualifying where they had a chance to extend the goal differential and they couldn't do that. I know that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they win, right? Tomorrow.
No.
But I still want to see that. I still just get out of their heads, right? Yeah, so it's nerve-wracking, guys. At the end of the day, I do feel confident for this game against Northern Ireland. It's in Italy. It's not at the San Siro. I'm confident about this game. I don't want to think about Tuesday yet. That's not here yet.
Mm-hmm. One game at a time.
But deep down, like after 12 years, look, this is the jersey from their last World Cup 12 years ago. I got this. I was still in high school.
I got the long sleeve version upstairs. Actually. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So I'm confident this is the time. Third time's a charm. But it's crazy that look, we've done the podcast almost 300 episodes and we still haven't seen Italy in the World Cup. You sent the video, Adri, this morning. 12-year-olds are saying that they never seen Italy in the World Cup. Look, 15, 16-year-olds won't remember Italy being in a World Cup. And meanwhile, in that time, they won a Euros.
Exactly.
So it makes no sense.
So, yeah, and just to bounce off to just your guys' points and everything, just the conversation, I hope, the biggest thing I think in these 6-7 months, whatever it's been, since bro, get out. What are you, 2 years old? For context, the guy Nick's doing the 6-7, right? For our audio listeners. But no, like I had heard Gattuso on the press conference, right, and he said it like, what have you done? And I know Califiori spoke and kind of what has Gattuso's done, in these months, leading up to this point, and there's not really much to do like on the pitch. It's, I think, again, like I said earlier, creating that group, being close to the players, and it made me laugh because Calafiori said it in his press conference. He said, I think he had said he had spoken more to Gattuso than his own mother in these last few months. So that just goes to show you, Rino Gattuso and the type of player he was and the type of manager he is now, and the type of man he is, right? Just all about the affection, all about the player, all about the teammate, all about the group. So to bring that unity in a time where we need it the most, I think is huge. I just hope these players take that and ride with that and not be mentally fragile, because I think it's another thing. Like, we need to be good, strong mentally. Forget on the pitch, but like between the ears, like we have to be mentally strong. And if something doesn't go our way, or if like you said, Nick, we're maybe down and we need to kind of rise up and not just to crumble and fall, because I don't know how many more times these guys need to like live this feeling of not making a World Cup or being in this limbo of World Cup qualification, because as we've said it timeless times, enough is enough. So I'm hopeful, and to your point, Nick, one game at a time for sure. We need to get past tomorrow. There is no excuse. Like tomorrow, like I said last week and probably the week before and many times on this show, if it's a head, it's a shoulder, it's an ass, it's a back, it's a shin, it's a toe that gets this ball in the back of the net, I don't care. I don't care who it is that scores. As long as it's an Italy win and we have a chance on Tuesday to do it as well. And again, for people that are worried for the Bosnia / potentially Wales matchup, why there's no chance, there's no time to be fucking worried. Like, we have to do it. Like, if we can't beat, and I saw a clip, it was I forget the Italian content creator who put it out there. It was, I off the top of my head I don't remember, but they're like, if we can't even win against Bosnia or Wales, if we're scared to play against those guys, we have no business being in another World Cup. So, which to that point is, in my eyes, correct. So again, hopeful for tomorrow. I think that's the biggest thing. But yeah, going to even back to what you said, Johnny, about Keane as a super sub, I don't mind that idea either. I think just the formation that is going to be played, or projected to be played, the 3-5-2, it limits some of our attackers, and maybe that's why Orsolini doesn't get called up. Maybe a Bernardeschi, a Zaniolo, even Berardi for that matter, he's been doing pretty well for Sassuolo. these guys are like natural wingers, and we're putting two strikers, if you will, up top, right? So does Gattuso have the tactical flexibility to change in match on the fly? I would hope so. I listen. I'm a Gattuso lover, so for me, I want him to do well. He's always man. Well, I don't want to say always because always is a big word, but more times than not, he's with the cards he's been dealt. He's been able to to do the best with it and to overcome whatever it is to overcome. So we saw it as Milan fans when he took over Milan in shambles. He did the best that he could with what he had. We saw it at Napoli, right? He won a trophy with them, right? Something that probably we wouldn't have thought that would have happened. So now with the Azzurri, I think it's another chance for him to prove that maybe he's not the best in certain aspects, but what he does lack is what he brings emotionally to these players, and that's what we're gonna have to ride on. Because he also said he went on he in these last month, or I think since he's been hired, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the quote correctly, he was present at 380 matches across different competitions. If that be Serie A, if it be Premier League, if it be Champions League, if it be Europa Conference, whatever it was, to see his players and to see Italian talent, play. So I think he's done his homework. Now tomorrow's the first test, and hopefully Tuesday is the final exam. So we'll see what happens.